Hey guys, my name's Gloria and welcome back to my channel. I am back, I guess. My counsellor will be very smug about this because he told me I should start making videos again when I told him I had a channel. And I said no, that won't help me. That I couldn't possibly do that now. Turns out the guy with 2 PhDs knows more than me, which is shocking, I know. Today I just wanted to talk about a couple of Stephen King books that I read recently and try and get back into doing this. It's been a while, it's been a very long time since I've put on makeup, so we'll see how this looks in the end. But the books I want to talk about today are Desperation and The Regulators. One is Stephen King, one is Stephen King, Richard Bachman. I think they were both released in the same week, back in 1996, I believe. And they're strange because they're basically the same story, but not really, and kind of the same characters, but not really, but a lot of the same names, and it's a whole big muddle of things. I would say don't do what I did and don't read them consecutively because that was just incredibly confusing. But if you're going to pick one of them, definitely read Desperation first because that is the better of the two. So to start with Desperation, Desperation begins with a couple out on the road on a highway in Nevada, and they get stopped by a police officer, and they're anxious, they're wondering what's going on, they're trying to figure out why they're getting stopped, is something wrong here? But he just tells them there's something wrong with one of their wheels, they have a flat tire. So one of them goes into the boot of the car, and when they move something, there is a huge bag of weed there, and it's his sister's car. So his sister left this bag of weed, and now they're getting arrested, and they can't believe they're getting arrested over something that isn't even their fault. But they're going along with it, they think it'll all get cleared up. But on the way to the little town where this police officer is working, it's called Desperation, he is reading them their Miranda rights and just offhand in the middle slips in, I'm going to kill you, and they're like, what was that? What did he just say? And things really go downhill from there. They find the town pretty much deserted. It's a ghost town. The police officer is acting more and more erratic and strange, saying completely unrelated things. They find an assortment of other people in the holding cells in the jail. There's a family with a young child. There's actually, as they're coming in, there's blood and there's bodies, and there's an old guy in the jail cells as well. There's a random writer guy, and they just can't figure out what is going on, what is up with this police officer, and it's all related to humans digging further than they should. There's a mine in town, and at some point they went a little deeper than they should and released something that has wreaked havoc on this town of Desperation. That is the general gist of the story of Desperation. It's quite character focused, and it's a sort of classic Stephen King random assortment of people that have to band together to try and figure out how to stop whatever's going on. And there's obviously a couple of them have sort of premonition, they know more than they should. It was surprisingly God focused. I know Stephen King normally has like an evil sort of presence pushing things along, and then there's always some sort of a good presence sort of giving the good guys better luck and stuff, but in this it's specifically named as God, and there's praying and stuff, which I thought was just sort of different. I've never really seen that in Stephen King before. It I think I originally found the book because I was just curious as to whether Stephen King had ever done a demon possession story before, because I really love demon possession fiction. And when I think about it now, it seems sort of irrelevant to even ask, because a lot of his work is someone getting possessed by something. But I think this is the closest to the sort of the demon that I would imagine, you know, demon evil against God kind of thing. And then we have The Regulators, and I mean, when you write that many books, you gotta try all the things, I suppose. But I wonder what made him think to write both of these stories and publish them at the same time. So The Regulators is entirely set on this one little street called Poplar Street, and all of the different families and houses that are there. And it's just an ordinary day. There's a young boy cycling up the street and delivering newspapers, and all of a sudden a van rolls down the street and opens fire, and it's not the first, certainly, or not the last, certainly not the last. There's going to be a lot more vans coming along, a lot more shooting, a lot more strange things happening, and it's connected to Desperation in that it's the same evil presence, it's the same thing, and it's come from the same place. It's still come from this town and this mine in a town called Desperation. It's just in a different place now. It didn't work for me. It didn't feel like as much of an evil presence, as much of a sort of scary bad guy. It was also just a complete mess of too many characters being introduced at once. Like, I think at the middle of the book I stopped trying to situate where each house was and where each family lived, and it didn't help either that most of the names from Desperation are also the character names in The Regulators. Some of them are the same characters. There's a writer called John Marinville in both of them, and there's a vet they call Doc or whatever, but there's two children in Desperation who are siblings, but in The Regulators they're adults and they're married and their parents are their children, and it was just a whole confusion in my head of those characters. But even without the names, it was difficult to sort of sort them out, because you're just sort of dropped into this street and sort of pointed at each house going, that family's there, that family's there, this guy's out in the street, that guy's out in the street, and there's just too many people at once and everything just goes off at once. I think also Desperation is a bit more linear in the events that are happening. You kind of learn along with the characters, whereas The Regulators is this one event of the shooting on the street, but it keeps going back and forth to where this demon thing came onto the street and how it started, and it was just very wishy-washy and nothing was really pinned down for me, so I didn't really enjoy it as much as Desperation. I think Desperation is a better book at that. But yeah, I'm glad I read them. I'm not sure what other Richard Bachman Stephen King books I've read. I think Thinner was a Richard Bachman one, and that was okay. A couple of odd moments in that. One thing I do feel like I need to mention, because of my own autism, is a real main character in The Regulators is a young boy called Seth, and he is autistic. He is non-verbal. His family were killed mysteriously, so he's now living with his aunt, and just some of the language around him being autistic and the way other people treat him and see him, the way his family do, is odd. You know, this book came out in the 90s, so obviously our knowledge about autism has come along, hopefully, but it's just a lot of sort of blaming him for his own, for their expectations of what he should be and how he should act and react to people. There's also obviously this is used a lot, and I think Stephen King does it a lot as well, of having someone with either a developmental or an intellectual disability, but then they have a magic power and someone else sees into their head, and inside their own head they're a normal neurotypical person, which just doesn't really make sense to me, because autism is it's the way your brain is structured, so like there's no taking off a physical disability. It's not like someone who was neurotypical but now they don't have the ability to speak or something. It's a completely different thing, and it just didn't really make a lot of sense to me, but you know, what are you gonna do? I can only write better stories in the future, I suppose. But other than that, it just was a mess for me, whereas Desperation was a bit more linear. I think the characters were used better in Desperation as well, and it was just a bit more creepier, and it had a bit more tension and suspense to it. And not only the characters in The Regulators, but there's this whole thing of the name The Regulators being based off of this old cowboy movie, so there's all these cowboy and like movie characters and TV actors and cartoon characters and stuff all mixed in with the actual real people, so it was, and they all have strange physical descriptions as well, so it was just very hard to get your head around all of these moving players in the book. So it just wasn't an easy read. You kind of have to, I almost wanted to start writing down each character's name and where the houses were. I almost needed a map for this because it was just so confusing. But I would definitely recommend Desperation though, if you're looking for another Stephen King book and you haven't read that one. So that's the two latest books that I've read. Let me know if you've read them before, if you knew that they were connected to each other. Let me know if you read them the same way I did and had the confusion of all the names. Very weird. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what I'm doing here, you can like and subscribe down below. I will be back with another video soon, hopefully. I don't want to pin any kind of schedule on myself or anything at the minute, but maybe in a week or two I'll have another one up of some more books that I've read. So if you have any suggestions for books that you think I might like, or any Stephen King books that you think I might like, you can let me know down below, and I shall see you in the next video.